Today I want to talk about something. Are you ready for marriage? This recording is meant for people who are honestly considering going to marriage and possibly already in the relationship, some kind of courtship leading towards marriage. I want to share this with you. According to statistics in New Zealand in 2023, New Zealand recorded a 42% divorce rate. This may vary from country to country, okay? When you consider boarding a plane that has a 42% chance of crashing, you realize it will be a very unusual person who would risk their future on that aircraft. Yet, tens of thousands of people take great risk with their marital relationships every day without thinking deeply about their futures. Actually, many engaged couples give more thought and consideration to their one-day wedding experience than they do to what will happen in the many years following. To help prevent your marriage from becoming another sad statistic, one way you can do that is through premarital education, which can save and can have an impact on the quality of your life together. Your marriage will impact every aspect of your life, for good or bad. To begin with, you should plan for a successful marriage, not just a beautiful wedding. To begin to plan for a successful marriage, you need to find a good counselor. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14, that where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. While this biblical principle applies to all areas of our lives, it makes sense in the context of getting married. Think about it. Would you have a surgical procedure without seeking the advice of a doctor? Unfortunately, too many couples don't invest the time or the money to get the needed advice and guidance through counseling. So as you plan, there must be less living in the clouds and move down to the earth. When you find someone that you would like to settle down with in life, there are certain things that will help you to get to know each other well before you can make that decision of getting married. And the first thing is to begin to start talking about yourselves, touching all bases. As you plan to enter into marriage, you must begin by sharing your backstory with your partner. You must start sharing your personal history. This will help you to understand each other and come to terms with what you are getting involved into. You are presently the sum total of your history. You are the total of your past experiences, and the more you understand about yourself and each other, the easier it will become one in marriage. It's amazing that there are some couples who don't bother to take time to share their personal histories or their expectations, their hopes, their dreams, or even life goals. Your backstory is essential material that makes up the depth of your life script. Your fiancé needs to know it all. It is the things you hide that later make the marriage sick and even sometimes even fail. It's only fair that both parties going into marriage have the full story, no matter how painful it is to tell or to hear. You need to tell it all. Getting to know each other means telling all. There should be no hidden secrets. And these will include things like, what has caused you pain? Did you have a demeaning or a demanding parent? What about your physical or sexual abuse from anyone in any form? Have you experienced the tragic loss of a loved one? How about personal failures that you may have pushed so far down in your memory that you have actually forgotten about them? Do you have any addiction, like pornography, drugs, alcohol, gambling? Do you have any eating disorder? What about fears that you think about all the time? Or inadequacies that you don't like to think or talk about? If you have experienced any of these things, does your fiancé know about it? Is everything out in the open? Your fiancé needs to know about any pain in your life now, not later. Most premarital experts state that the two neglected areas of personal communication in their relationships are sharing about their sexual history and financial history. You don't want to spring surprises on your spouse in the future that you could talk about today before you marry. And let's just be clear. We are not suggesting that you offload your entire life story on your first date. No, but we advise that you share your personal story in full before you get engaged, and if you're already engaged, at least before you get married. There should be no surprises. That is the best and most authentic model for the foundation of a healthy relationship. Now talk about things that you need to share about your history. Number one, family relationship with your dad, with your mom. What kind of relationship did you have with your mom and your dad? Were you close to your mom or to your dad, or both? How have your sibling affected your life? What did you learn about the relationship from your parents and family? Describe your home environment you grew in. What was the emotional temperature in your home? For example, was it warm, fun, heated, filled with tension, cold, or distant? How did your parents view money, savings, and spending? What were some important family traditions? What was the spiritual tone within your home? Did your parents go to church? Were they Christians or not? List any tragic or big event within your family. Tragic like the loss of a sibling, the loss of a parent. Things that could affect you emotionally. Now, this is very important because things that happen to us when we are young leave certain scars in our lives. It also affects the way we react to certain things. sharing such information is very vital and important to each other. It may explain why your partner would react in a certain way if you knew and understood their backstory. What are the most significant moments in your life? These significant moments can be either positive or negative. Milestones in your life. Try to mention them in each period of your life. Try to categorize your life in terms of from the birth to kindergarten. If anything that you can remember, you can share. From your elementary years, junior and high school, post-high school, up to present day. Because you are the sum total of your history. What are your goals for your current relationship and your future marriage? As you share this history, feel free to ask questions to clarify further. It's important that you understand. The idea here is that you should share everything to a point where you are both left vulnerable. So after telling your backstory, it helps you to understand when after you're finished telling each other your story, you will begin to sympathize with each other on certain things. You begin to understand some of the fears that they show. And secondly, the next, after discussing your history, you now begin to discuss the in-laws and family map in details. Every person comes from a unique family system and has developed a family map. So each couple will begin by creating a family map that shows awareness of their unique family backgrounds. This type of map can help you explore anything from relational patterns to health issues to emotional tendencies to spiritual legacy issues. You need to know the members of the family system. What I mean by family system, for example, you have got your father. Your father has got siblings, brothers and sisters. Those are your uncles and your aunties. You describe them, discuss them each individually, who they are, what they do. This is very important. You talk about there are some unspoken traditions and expectations that both families will embrace. How will you as a couple deal with crazy uncles? Every family has some crazy cast members, and yours will have to. You can't avoid the family. Your future spouse has been greatly influenced by his or her parents, whether positively or negatively. While you are discussing these members of the family, for example, they will tell you, Uncle John is the wise man in our family. When we have a problem, we all look up to Uncle John. Uncle John is the most respected member of our family. When there are issues in the family, is the one that we go to. is the oasis of wisdom. And that's the knowledge that you needed to know, because when you are married and Uncle John come to visit you, you'd know how to deal with him. You have been already told is the most respected member of our family. Similarly, there will be a crazy Uncle Joe, and they'll tell you, Uncle Joe, no one takes him serious. Or he's a drunkard, he's a womanizer, he's this and that. No one takes him serious anyway. So you know when he visits you and he begins to start creating a scene in your home, you know how to deal with it because you have already been taught about Uncle Crazy Joe. So that information is vital and important. And the reason why you discuss all these things, you want to see certain patterns in that family. For example, there may be a pattern of divorces. Uncle Albert divorced. Auntie Mary also has married 3 times. There's a pattern of, the idea here is that you'll be able to see a certain pattern and break the cycle. The idea of discussing, you want to see whether there was any mental illness in the family or any other health issues or sexual abuse or even witchcraft. All those things are important to discuss. Let us consider the negative for a moment. What you might be tempted to move to another country to escape each other's family, you should be warned that you can run, but you cannot hide. Your fiancé has inherited some tendencies from his or her parents. Whether you like it or not, most of what we bring to our marriage has been influenced by our family of origin. We all have what is called a family system, and that family system affects our values, beliefs, attitudes, priorities, and definitely our actions. To put it bluntly, your family has been the greatest contributor factor in why you are the way you are and who you are today. Most engaged couples don't spend enough time thinking deeply about each other's family system. Your family and your spouse's family are not going to go away after the wedding. Those who try to ignore the impact of their family system will find their denial is not a good long-term strategy. Your family system will come back to bite you, and if you try to ignore it. So here is our easy solution. Don't ignore it. Simple. Let's talk about it, so we know what we are going to do or what we are going to be dealing with in our future marriage. The ultimate goal is to experience the depth of oneness. And you can't easily experience the depth of this oneness without sharing your personal history. The goal is to be fully accepted by your fiancé despite your past sins, or your doubts, or your fears, and whatever burdens that you have experienced in your life. Sharing of personal history can sometimes be awkward. I am not suggesting that you provide each other with every little nitty-gritty detail, but we definitely believe in the principle that pain comes before freedom. If you want to be free of any guilt or knowledge that you are holding something important from a fiancé, then you will have to experience the pain that may be connected to honesty. Sharing on a deep level comes most often after you have shared personal history and you have received the first experience of feedback that includes grace and affirmation. I'll end there.